What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All-22 NFL show. You have Chris and Ray, and today we are going to be reviewing the top running backs in the 2025 NFL Draft. This is a very exciting group of players, and I'm not going to talk too much. I'm not going to get too long-winded here. We're going to jump right into it, and the first player we have to review is Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, 22 years old, 6 feet tall, 221 pounds. Here we go. 1,559 career snaps, 3 years at North Carolina. At the combine, 4.46 40, 154, 10-yard, 38-inch vert, 10 foot 10-inch broad, 4.4 20-yard shuttle, and 18 reps on bench press. Grading wise, 88.4 offensive grade, 65.4 receiving grade with 373 yards and 2 touchdowns this past year. 54.8 pass blocking grade, 90.5 run grade, 1,660 yards this year and 15 rushing touchdowns. 3,500 career yards and 37 career rushing touchdowns, 631 career receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. Holy cow, that's a lot of information. I will definitely be smoother on the next one, but let's kick it off reviewing Omarion Hampton. And I'm doing this off the dome, people. Don't have my notes with me today, so we'll see how it goes. But just jumping into it, we'll watch the first clip together. So one of the things I really liked about Omarion Hampton is he allows his blocks to develop in front of him. He gives his offensive line patience to develop, right? He sits behind his offensive lineman and hits the hole once it appears, but he doesn't rush, right? It's not a rush to get there. He's very patient. And then once he does make that decision to hit a hole, the explosiveness is extreme and it's powerful. But right here, you see, right? He's kind of hesitating. He gets the ball. He's hesitating. Once that blocker engages, and that blocker is doing a fantastic job engaging here, Omarion Hampton waits, sees it, breaks a tackle down the field, and he's off, right? That's the kind of player that we're going to see here. Somebody that's really smart when the ball is in his hand, when he's hitting his holes. Love to see that from him. And also somebody that obviously is going to break a ton of tackles. 4.35 yards per carry after contact. Next play here, takes the ball, running through the hole. There's a holding penalty here. But the reason I like this play, and there's really not much that's spectacular about it, right? But again, the hole's developing. He sees it. Good vision through the hole. On contact, what is he doing once the contact is made? He's fighting for an extra 4 yards, right? And we're going to see that over and over and over again with a guy like Omarion Hampton. Here we go to the next play. Receives the handoff. Again, sees that hole develop, and it's more of a zone blocking scheme on this one. I like this angle of it a little bit better, but he's trying to see where that's going to develop. The blocks are being made with the pull. Good patience. He sees it. Hole appears. He's through. Arm tackle, breaking it, spinning, getting an extra 3 yards. We're going to see that again over and over and over again. But another thing I liked about him is kind of what I said in the first play. It's be patient, but once it appears, go, break a tackle, go. And then look at that, fighting for extra yards. He's basically carrying his own offensive lineman on his back, which I don't know if that guy was really helping him on this play. It's just kind of like, let's see what you could do with an extra 300 pounds on your back. And he gets an extra 10 yards on that. So absolutely love that. I actually really like this play, and I'm going to actually run it back from the beginning. So Omarion Hampton, I wanted to show just one example of him in kind of a passing down. So chips the tackle, the edge rusher to help out his tackle, right? Then he's off into the play. There's a guy coming down on him hard. Nice catch, but it's really that after catch again, right? This is a dude that just fights for every single yard. So when you give this guy the ball, you're kind of expecting that every single rep, add 2 yards, add 3 yards to it, right? Because he's going to fight for that extra 2 or 3 yards, and he's so strong that he's going to get it for you. So all in all, really exciting prospect in Omarion Hampton. And Ray, I actually did abide by the rules this time, trying to get to just 5 reps for everybody. Let's see what you did here with Ashton Jeanty. And I'll read it out. Ashton Jeanty from Boise State, 21 years old. He's 5'8.5", 211 pounds. 3 years at Boise, 1,652 rushing snaps. Did not participate in the combine. Grading-wise, 94.9 offensive grade, 54.7 receiving grade with 138 yards and one touchdown this past year, 49.0 pass blocking grade, 96.6 running grade with 2,595 yards, 29 rushing touchdowns. All this year, 2,595 yards and 29 touchdowns this year. 4,700 career yards with 50 touchdowns rushing, 877 yards receiving with 6 touchdowns, and a 5.25 yards after contact. You ready to jump in?
Let's do it. So I like to start off again, right? Okay, yeah, you follow the rules, but some of these plays I think are just one angle, and by some I think maybe just one. So that excuses the extra like 4. But I don't know if this was part of your thought process either, but I like to start with those that we believe are at the top of their class when doing these kind of like rapid fire breakdowns and positional series, because it kind of gives us as reviewers and the viewers as a baseline to measure off of for everybody else. And I think Ashton Jeanty does a really good job of that. And so does Omarion Hampton, especially through contact here, as you showed. So if we just jump in, you can just let it run. I like to start off first right away. We're just going to see some pass protection here and just get right in the armpit of the blitzer here and allow his quarterback to make the complete wrong read there. But see that right there? That's most dangerous. Just gets up and underneath the defender and allows him to, again, there was a wide open middle dig there, and he just took the go route to the outside for some reason when it just wasn't there. But again, the little things of running backs don't show up on the stat sheet. This is early on in the game. I like the tone setting. And again, just kind of goes to show you what Jeanty can also bring outside of just the obvious yardage, the broken tackles, and all that fun stuff. We can go on to the second play here. And I like this. It's like a lot of equations just sort of going on in Ashton Jeanty's head here. So we're going to let it run. And I think the takeaway from this angle is really just kind of what you said with Hampton, the sort of spinning just to get like two extra yards or so. And if you could run this back, this angle from the beginning here, there's a couple of things that really stand out to me. Again, what is this, 7-8 yards, which is a nice run, but not something that you're going to remember from the game. But right here, I think he does a really good job. If you watch number 95, he kind of gets to the outside of the blocker there and kind of into Jeanty's leverage. But you see Jeanty press the line right there to hold up number 2 just enough for the blocker to reach him. And then he kind of explodes back to the outside to get himself one-on-one with number 5 here on the crackback. And then again, that's what allows him to pick up basically 6-7 extra yards on that play. That could have been a 2-yard gain there, but he presses the line of scrimmage just enough to hesitate or to make the defender hesitate, and then explode to the outside and get what he could out of that play. So really just phenomenal, just subtle nuances to Jeanty's game, which you would expect for someone with that much production. And then here, we're just going to show just his balance and lateral explosion here. So you go ahead and let it run again here. So presses the line of scrimmage and then just explodes laterally. Again, kind of similar here, but you like the side-to-side lateral agility that really puts stress on the defense. And then same thing, spins again for another 3.5, 4 yards after contact. So I'm gonna try to rival your pace here. You do some rapid fire stuff. But Chris, remember when we talked about the defensive interior players in this class? And we talked about Derek Harmon, and we said he needs to finish plays in the backfield. Derek Harmon needs to finish, and this is why some of his grades are so low when it comes to tackling and that run-stopping aspect of the game. Let's just let this one run here, and we're going to see right here. But hey, that's a 11, 15-pound running back just shrugging off with his upper body a defensive tackle in the backfield. That's a lot of strength. And again, it's hidden yardage. What is this, a 3-yard run? But that's a difference of about 5.5 yards because he was able to just shrug off, again, the paws of a 320-pound defensive interior player behind the line of scrimmage. So you can see it from this angle. Again, this gives you a good point of view. But Ashton Jeanty is just so strong, that center of gravity, just to shrug off someone like Derek Harmon and, again, get, 2 yards out of the play, if that. But it could have been a loss of 2. So those little things make a difference. That's hidden yardage. So we're going to just run this, and you're going to see it as a theme. Again, now breaking off to the right, we're going to shrug off another defensive tackle in the backfield. Then we're going to bounce off of some more contact, run to the outside, and pick up a gain of 25, 27 odd yards, which is pretty much now all after contact because yet again, he broke a tackle in the backfield right here. A good stiff arm, good leg drive. And now I'm going to plant and go. See this hole, but oh wait, it closes. That's fine. You'll bounce off of me too because of my center of gravity. And then I'm going to go ahead and just cut up field and get a ton of yardage. And they're still not going to get him to the ground. He survived the whole play, He didn't get to the ground, not once on a 30-yard run where he bounced off of at least 4 tackles. The strength and center of gravity and contact balance is absolutely next level with Ashton Jeanty. So this one, I think we can run pretty quick. It's very simple. The takeaway here is just show him running through the tackles between the B and A gaps here, and just yet again, just spinning off of contact here and getting extra yardage. But yep, he can work in a phone booth too. That little cut there to get an extra 5 yards in a phone booth, it makes a difference. Thought I cut out that little scoreboard cameo there, but that's fine. And then here, the one takeaway here, we can also just let this run. Nothing real nuanced about this, other than to show that, hey, yeah, there's breakaway speed here. So once he gets in the open field, he's going to outrun your angle, and you're not going to catch him. So he's squatty, he's short, he's stout, he's powerful, he has a center of gravity, he's agile, but he can also break long runs and has breakaway speed. So what the hell what's missing? What box is unchecked here when you really go down the list of things to love about Ashton Jeanty? Last play here. Focus on, you probably can't see it from this angle, but number 0. So we'll let this run again in the red zone here. And again, we're going to run between the tackles and just boom, just boom, just levels the linebacker there and just buries him. So he's going to get through that sort of initial contact right at the line. And then I believe it's number 0 here. Yeah, right there with the sleeve on his right arm. You're going to see him. He's on the right side of your screen right now. He's going to come into the frame as we run this. So Jeanty's going to pick through the hole, just kind of shrug off that arm tack with his legs here. And then, yeah, watch the defender well, now he's directly in front. Yep. And then he's just going to plant him on his butt and score a touchdown. So again, he just navigates through traffic so well. And when there isn't sort of an escape hatch, he lowers his shoulder and can get extra yardage with power. So yeah, Ashton Jeanty, pretty much the whole damn package here.
You didn't even make one Michael Mayer reference, which I am super upset about, right? The way he just kind of stands there before the play, and it's like, it's a little eerie. Like, it's like psychopath stuff, but I love it. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking about Quinshon Judkins next, who is coming out of Ohio State this past year, 21 years old. He spent 2 previous years at Ole Miss before this past year at Ohio State. 6 feet tall, 221 pounds, 1,753 career offensive snaps at the combine, a 4.48 40, 151 10-yard, 38.5-inch vert, and 11-foot broad. Grading-wise, 88.8 offensive grade, 72.3 receiving grade, 161 yards and 2 touchdowns receiving this past year, 29.9 pass blocking grade, yikes, 90 run grade, 1,060 yards and 14 touchdowns this past year, 3.04 yards after contact this past year. So one thing I definitely will say about this class, actually 2 things. First, the vision in this class was so special. There's so many prospects in this class at the running back position that have vision that I would rival with the best of some of the last few classes, definitely last year's, but some of even the really good running back classes. I think the vision of this class is special. But the second thing that's really special is the burst. This group of players knows how to hit a hole once it opens up like a rocket. And I love that about this group. And Quinshon Judkins has a lot of both of those qualities. We're going to go ahead and just run this tape. So interesting play here. Thought this was an example of maybe where vision isn't perfect, right? And, when we're starting to really break it down, how these guys measure up, that's something that's going to be important. But I want to pause it right about here. So we talked about Omarion Hampton, Jeanty, waiting for the blocks to develop before being explosive. Some of the other guys, maybe aren't as patient. And I think he gets a little bit caught up here, a little bit too over his skis, like Ray always says. And he kind of runs into the back of his blockers a little bit. And I think his feet kind of get tangled as well. But there's a huge hole there that could have been hit if he was a little bit more patient, right? We just saw Jeanty hit a bunch of these. Judkins doesn't here, kind of loses the opportunity that had presented itself, gets caught up, and it's kind of an easy tackle. Let's keep going. I thought that was a decent block, right? I just wanted to show one example of him kind of stepping up, right? This is a big linebacker. Is that Kobe King, I think is his name, 41, right? Really good linebacker in the box, coming through hard, right? And, maybe that's not a block you feel super confident coming up chest to chest with. Fine, go take him out. And that's what he does. So I really like that, even though he had a very low pass blocking grade. But let's keep it going here. So that's the vision, right? That's the vision. That's the explosiveness. And when we get to the other angle, I'll show it kind of a little bit differently. But right here, there's a few different ways he can go. but the hole starts to fill up and he sees it. He sees his guys kind of coming in second effort and he says, the hole's there, I'm going to explode, right? So there's going to be a little explosion where then he's going to meet some contact, but watch what happens after the contact. Watch how quickly he ends up moving for that second effort, right? I think that's what's important to see here. So there's the contact, but boom. Did you see how quick he actually almost burnt out a tire on that play because he was moving so quick after that contact? So something really interesting about him is just that ability to accelerate at any point in time and get those extra yardage. So here we're going to keep it going, a little shuffle play. And again, it's just okay, time to go. But this is a little bit of my knock on him, right? There's some prospects where you say you're going to make a miss in a phone booth. I don't really think that's Judkins. This is a good example of that. Look at how much open field you have, and you really only have one guy that you need to make miss. So how are you at this point, right? You see him. How are you setting him up to fail? How are you going to make him miss? And Judkins here doesn't really have an answer for that. And number one, I will say, I love that guy. Every time we watch Penn State film, he's somebody that I go, that's a really good football player, right?
Jalen Reed, that's our boy.
But here, right, it's just is that really all the move that you had planned is just to do a little sidestep there to try to get to the sideline? Come on, man. And you're big. You're a big dude, right? We talked about him being at 221. At least run him over, right? If you're not going to put a move on him, run him over. But okay, here we go. Little passing down. I thought this is a nice little play. Again, when he catches the ball and just runs, that acceleration is great. But then what happens at the end, right? You have one player to make miss. Can you make him miss? No. Judkins, I don't know if he has that in him. At least I didn't really see it often enough. But let's keep it going here. Little slip out, right? And, this kind of goes into that receiving grade for him. Couple issues on this play for me. Oh, it looks like I only showed it at one angle. So I'm going to run it back. Bear with me. The rewind button's a little bit slow for me here. But the two issues I really saw in this play, right, is when you're a running back, you're supposed to be kind of like your quarterback's drop-off option, which means just hey, hang out in open space so that your quarterback can find you and get you the ball and get that little extra yards that probably shouldn't exist otherwise. And right here, that's probably a good place to hang out, right? There's nobody coming down on you. You have space. You could drift a little bit, right? Continue to kind of gain with your quarterback, make sure he sees you in his line of vision. Sure. But at this point, he's kind of turning to run, and he's running right into a defender. And then he kind of gets caught up a little bit. And okay, the quarterback does a good job finding space for himself to kind of create more time for you. You finally find that open space. It's a difficult throw. Now he has to throw it over the DB. Will Howard does that and actually throws a really nice spot here. And Judkins just doesn't pull it in, and it's a really easy catch opportunity for him. So another kind of concern I have for him at the end of the day.
And Howard was about to hit him on that initial check down too. And then
he kept
had
moving.
to pull back because he kept moving. So that he would have had a completion if he hadn't extended that play.
100%. I think Howard deserves 2 completions on that play. We'll edit the scores. Okay, so here we go. Just another example of what I do like about Judkins, which is he's going to be a bit of a bruiser when he needs to be. And okay, let me find the hole. Let me see the vision. Let me find the hole. And then maybe I'm not make you miss in a phone booth. Maybe I'm not going to wiggle through some things, but maybe I'm the type of guy that's going to get five extra yards when there's a bunch of bodies on me. And right here, just to kind of continue driving and get that extra yardage is something I really like about his game. This might be the last play here. It's another shuffle. And again, it's just that explosion, right? Once the ball's in his hand, if there's an opportunity and a lane for him to run right here, right? He's not dancing. He's not, my uncle used to say, duping. He's not just hanging out in the backfield. He's saying, okay, there's open space. I'm going to hit it, right? Boom. That's 15 yards, right? And maybe it wouldn't have been if he had just stayed in the background and danced around a bit. So I really like that play for Judkins. Overall, good prospect, somebody I'm excited about, and somebody I'm excited to talk about in our rankings at the end of this episode. But really quick, people, if you haven't yet, go like and subscribe to our podcast, right? We get to continue doing this by getting more people to watch these YouTube videos. So go do that, like and subscribe to the YouTube video. Go to all-22.com to sign up for All 22 Fantasy Football. That's what we are all about. We need more people playing. We need people like you that are interested in the nitty-gritty film, because guess what? You get to be a GM in All 22 and make decisions like the GMs will be making later this month. Next guy up we have is Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, who's actually the youngest guy. I think he's still 20 years old, 5'8", 200 pounds, 3 years at Tennessee, 1,000 career offensive snaps at the combine. Only did a couple things, 35-inch vert, 10-4 broad, 13 reps on bench. Grading wise, 90.5 offensive grade, 66.7 receiving grade with 143 receiving yards, 64.4 pass blocking grade, 90.9 run grade with 1,488 yards and 22 touchdowns. What else? 3.6 yards after contact. Is this me, Ray, or is this you?
This is me. So catch your breath and just operate the controls behind the scenes here. So we could just jump right in. So you said at 20 years old. Okay, that's intriguing. So watch this first play here. And similar to Jeanty, you're going to start off with a play early on in pass protection and kind of get stood up there. So you kind of notice there's only that one angle if you want to run it back. I know you're apparently doing this from like a VCR, so you just rewind, not skip. But you kind of notice there he leaves his feet, or rather he gets left from his feet. His feet get lifted off the ground right here. So yep, right here we can start from here and then just watch. Yep, just kind of off balance here, gets overpowered. Obviously enough for the pass to get off, which is great. But 20 years old does not necessarily have that grown man strength yet, and it's a theme in his pass pro. So that's just the one angle there. We can run this play to the outside, and this is basically Dylan Sampson in a nutshell. Open space, speed, trying to fight for more yardage, but then he fumbles. He had a spat. He lost 4 fumbles last season, and this was, I think, the 3rd in 3 straight games. So again, makes a good play here, gets to the open field, has a lot of speed, but then tries to fight for extra yardage and just doesn't cover up the football or absorb contact all that well and loses the ball. It's kind of a theme with Dylan Sampson when it comes to like big plays, but for something. So next play here. Remember what I said about starting with guys like Jeanty and Hampton. So now with Sampson through the hole, just kind of gets stood up immediately upon contact. This is a theme as well. And he gets hit high as well and tries to spin out, but even so, doesn't gain anything. His feet just kind of stop and is driven backwards as help arrives. He's not someone that's going to kind of lower the shoulder or just get additional yards after contact there. That's not necessarily his game.
I think that was Jahad Campbell. Just give him a little bit of leeway on that. Right?
There's Jahad Campbells in the NFL. I don't want to hear it. Your paycheck is about to say NFL National Football League in a few weeks. I need you. Jahad Campbell, that's not my problem. I need you to be better. If I'm drafting you in all 22 for my team, whatever it is, I need you to be better. And so next play here, I want you to keep your finger by the pause button here. So let's run it, and I'll tell you when to stop it here. So this is going to be another sort of wide zone. Stop it right here. Yeah, you were too slow, Chris. You were too slow. So let's run it. Let's rewind just a bit, about 2.5 steps here. I want you to just notice one thing from this wide angle before we go back to the end zone angle. Right about here. There is an alley there. There is a huge alley right there, but notice Sampson's posture there. He is basically running parallel to the line of scrimmage. He's not really in a good posture to put that foot in the ground and really explode upfield. He's gone very wide here and basically runs himself into the edge, which admittedly was a great job by the defender to set the edge, but because of his sort of posture and lean here, he's not able to take advantage of a really nice alley here that was sealed up well by his blocking. So if you let this run, we can see it from the end zone angle. You'll see another angle of it here. But again, he just ran himself into contact there when there was a big lane for him to go through. And so you're going to see it here right there. So look at the shoulders where it looks like he's running to the sideline, like he's running to get subbed out. This is the end zone's that way. So again, he runs into contact right here, as opposed to really just, again, having a bit more of a forward lean and being able to explode upfield and allow his blocker to engage with number 0 here at the second level and cut upfield. Everybody's allowed to flow to the ball because he takes this so wide. And so if you just let it continue to run here, you're going to see he's going to run into the butt of a blocker, basically create his own contact. 0 doesn't get engaged by number 78 there, and it's tackle for loss. That's a lot of yardage left on the field. It's the little things that can make a big difference, and he just took that way too wide here. On this play here, I believe this is play 5. So we're gonna run this here, and this is on the good side of the ledger for Dylan Sampson here. Kind of presses the hole, and once that little lane opens up, just squeezes through and explodes and begins to use that speed. And again, doesn't get much after contact here. I think I wrote down in my notes like scrappy do for this one because like he's just kind of scrapping. Like he's little, he doesn't have these huge muscular arms. He's not a big dog, but like he's just scrapping. So I kind of liked it. I like the attitude there, but he definitely needs to get stronger. Another play of Dylan Sampson, basically in a nutshell. Let's let this run, and I'm going to try to just in real time just verbalize my thoughts. Great. And then he loses his balance right there as he tries to make a cut and leaves another maybe 6 yards out on the field. It's like, this is Dylan Sampson. He makes good things happen and gets into open field, and then there's just but one thing that just kind of handicaps him and just doesn't allow you to get to, sort of full bore, get the most juice out of that squeeze there for Sampson. So we can let this run from here on out. I just like how he presses the line of scrimmage here. He's a very decisive runner quickly, which sometimes hurts him. But here he makes the decision to just bounce to the outside quickly. He's not patient here. But he knows he's fast. He sees space, so he's going to run to space and make the most of it. So this is the flip side of that coin where he is a bit impatient and can sometimes run himself into trouble. The flip side is sometimes he can make some plays that aren't there for just other backs that aren't quite as gifted as him athletically in the speed department. Last play here to sum it up. Another example of, hey, you don't have to be big and strong. If you just make the decision to just cut and go, you too can get yardage at the goal line, lower your shoulder, and barrel in for touchdowns here. I mean, this isn't. I mean, there's not much space here, so fine, just go ahead, put your head down, see what you can get. This is what he does. You look how he tight ropes basically the hashes here between all this contact, and then has enough forward momentum so that at the point of contact, he's able to fall in the end zone. Again, he's not really driving anyone back. He's just riding that wave of momentum that he built up by being so decisive to go ahead and score the touchdown there at the goal line. So patience isn't necessarily something that I would put in his toolbox. And there is some good to that, ironically enough. And it comes up on occasion with Dylan Sampson. You're muted, Chris.
That was literally running the gauntlet. That was kind of cool. It was like exactly the example of why they do that drill, right? All right, next we have Kaleb Johnson out of Iowa, 21 years old, 6'1", 224 pounds, spent 3 years at Iowa with over 900 offensive snaps. At the combine, 4.57 40 with a 1.62 10-yard. Grading-wise, 86.5 offensive grade, 65.3 receiving grade with 190 yards and 2 touchdowns, 38.5 pass blocking grade, 86.7 run grade, 1,535 yards and 21 touchdowns this past year, 2,775 career rushing yards with 30 touchdowns, and a 4.42 yards after contact. All right, Kaleb Johnson, let's get into it. Let's start and jump into Kaleb Johnson, who really might have some of the best contact balance that we have in this draft, obviously besides Ashton Jeanty. But this is just, again, phenomenal. You cannot arm tackle this guy. 220 plus pounds, right? 4.4 average yards after contact. Like incredible balance. You can't come after him like this. So just wanted to show that on the first play. Let's jump into the next one here. So a little pass protection, right? Step up. I would like to see a little bit more, right? Engaging. Like he kind of took it on a little bit too much for my liking. I'll try to run it back. Right, just kind of like what you said before about Dylan Sampson. It's kind of enough, right? Because the quarterback's able to get the ball off, but he didn't really do much here to stop us. Like if there's a second longer on this play, that defensive player is probably going to try to get by him and probably is doing so. So just wanted to show that. That's why a lot of these guys pass blocking is just definitely not their strong point. Showed up a lot in their grading. We'll keep it going here. So this is what concerns me a little bit about Kaleb Johnson, and reminds me a little bit of that Judkins, right? The issue I have with Judkins, which is you're not doing enough at the initial contact when somebody's squaring you up to either A, make them miss, or do something special to get a little extra. And here he's cutting back, right? I think he probably, made the right decision because that's where the lane is going to eventually open up. These guys are trained really well over at Iowa. Looks like that the receiver coming in didn't really get there in time to make his block, so maybe there's a little bit of a patience thing for Kaleb Johnson on this play. Maybe he should have been a little bit more patient, but he ends up meeting this guy here And he doesn't do really much besides lowering his shoulder to try to get around this. And besides that, even lowering his shoulder, again, at 220 pounds, this isn't an arm tackle, and it takes him down pretty easily. For a guy that big, I'd like to see more, right? I'd like to see a little bit more pop. He can get through arm tackles. We showed that. We're going to show that some more. But what about when you're squared up? Ashton Jeanty bounces off of tackles like this, right? One-on-one, I need to see a guy that's being talked about as maybe a late first round, early second round running back. I need to see him break those tackles. We're going to keep it going here. So a little outside run, but the good vision. In this play, he does have really good patience, right? Good vision, good patience, finds that lane, lets it appear. So right here, right? Just patient, slow feet, right? I love that. He sees the hole open up. Another patient moment here, kind of allows his block to develop, steps around, trusts his guy, and then he's through the hole and a bunch of arm tackles again. And we're not going to get tackled by arm tackles. Kaleb Johnson is not getting tackled by arm tackles. Let's keep it going. Next play here, just easy Iowa run, right? That's Iowa for you right there, right? It's just a huge hole. That's why I only showed the one angle, because you're not really learning a lot here. But there is still, like, he's running that gauntlet at the end of the play. When it does get tight, he's able to run through it. You're not going to tackle this guy with arm tackles. Let's keep it going. Another example of him just, again, like, you're not arm tackling this guy. He has good vision. He does have the patience. He really does. And he can get through there. The only thing I will say about this play, the only knock is he lacking a slight bit of speed, right? So breaks through all of that. But here it's like, okay, a lot of other backs are gone. And he just gets downed at like the 1 yard line. You just can't let that happen, right? Can't let that happen. Have to finish. Those are regular people's fantasy points. But here, it's that contact balance again, right? Just bouncing off. I think this actually might have looped and we're on the first play, but I'll show it again. Who cares? Really good job. Really good job again. Just like, he's not getting brought down with arm tackle. So really good prospect overall. And Kaleb Johnson, we like him a lot. Right, next up, we have TreVeyon Henderson from Ohio State, 22 years old. He's 5'10", 202 pounds. Spent 4 years at Ohio State. We have a senior, people. 1,677 snaps, combine, 4.43 40, 1.52 10-yard, 38.5-inch vert, 10.8 broad. Grading-wise, 88.4 offensive grade, 75.1 receiving grade, 281 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown this past season. 48.9 pass blocking grade, 91.8 run grade, 1,010 yards rushing this year, and 10 touchdowns rushing. 4.43 yards after contact. Ray, you are going to lead this one off.
All right, so we're going to start off TreVeyon Henderson. I have some nuggets for the audio portion, but we could just start here. This is probably the like worst example I could show of him in this manner, but I'm going to do it anyway because it still gets the point across. So just go ahead and run it. The thing not talked about enough with Henderson is he's a pass block menace. Just look at the posture there. So like the ball's out pretty quickly, so you don't really see the true hard contact there, but just getting across the line, look at the posture, look at the hands inside. I mean, this is absolute textbook stuff right here. And yeah, there's just no lane for the defender to go through. He's going to have to go through Henderson if he's going to get anywhere near the quarterback at this point, because he does such a good job with his angles and his body positioning there. And again, that's just from execution, technique, mentality. I mean, Henderson's just a pass block menace. And this was early on, I think his first pass protection snap. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to go ahead and show this one. Even though we could show examples in some of our other previous episodes when watching other people, we saw Henderson laying dudes out. So again, absolute pass block menace here, TreVeyon Henderson, despite 202 pounds, which maybe we'll talk about a bit more. So that's that. Now we can let this play run here. And the other thing that makes him so dangerous is his lateral agility. So right here, he's going to get upfield, then cut laterally to the outside. And again, pick up a nice, 20-plus yard run, give or take, a nice chunk play here before kind of being run down out of bounds by Chris's boy, Xavier Watts here. But again, running to space, has the lateral agility to pick up an extra 8 yards by cutting to the outside. So he gets what he can. Like I said, he kind of gets the most out of that squeeze, the most juice from that squeeze. He's a really proficient runner. So a theme that Chris mentioned with like the last two guys, I think, Judkins and Henderson and Johnson, about maybe making people miss in a phone booth. Just go ahead and let this run here. Stat sheet's not going to show this as anything special, But there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. So again, what, a 1 yard run, give or take, but he had to elude 3 tackles in order to do it. So this is a busted play, but eludes 1, eludes 2, eludes a third, keeps his balance, then finally gets brought down. So again, a 4-ish yard or so difference on a 1 yard run, but he's avoiding negative plays, keeping the offense on schedule as best as a running back possibly could in a scenario like that. And that stuff matters. So let's go ahead and run the next one. And it's really for the end of the play. Yes, another toss. Ohio State does a really good job of getting their backs in space on toss plays. But this is a freaking physical damn player. And this angle probably shows it more specifically. This happens to Watts a lot. I'm just going to say that. But just right there. Okay, nowhere else to go. Last resort, I'm going to lower my shoulder and go ahead. Boom, your butt is going to hit the floor as a defender. Yeah, you might make the tackle, but I'm going to finish my runs. I'm not just going to go down easily. I'm going to make you feel it. This is a physical player, despite, again, his stature. He might be the lightest of the bunch here, him or Sampson. But again, he's going to finish his runs when the walls are closing in on him. And last play, we're just going to show it again. Everybody knows this play. It sealed the national championship. The big play to Jeremiah Smith. Look at Henderson's block right here. Again, stepping up in the lane right in front of his quarterback. This defender is most dangerous. And watch Henderson here just pick him up. Boom, right there, 24. And allow the quarterback to get the ball off. Everyone remembers the throw and catch and the freaking 3 yards of separation here because Jeremiah Smith is a dog. But TreVeyon Henderson made that play happen. That's the unsung hero. That's 5 plays. That's well within the rules, Chris. Henderson can pass block, is physical, has lateral agility, and is a breakaway player. Can't wait to talk about him more in the audio portion. You're muted again, Chris. I set you up perfectly. Follow the rules and everything, and now look.
Yeah, I ruined it. I'm sorry. Yeah, dude. And it's funny because like watching some of that film that you just showed, as like a white dude playing basketball sometimes, like there's going to be a buddy that goes and has lateral quickness that I just can't compete with. And it's like watching some of those, it's like when you get absolutely just like left, right? Like you're at the 3-point line, they do that lateral step and it's just like your hips don't open like that and you're just left there. So something I experience, right? But we're going to go to Cam Skattebo, another guy that might experience similar things as me, but 5'9", 219 pounds. He's 23 years old, spent 2 years at Sacramento, 2 years at Arizona State, 2,274 career snaps at the combine, 39.5-inch vert, 10.3 broad. Yeah, maybe he doesn't. Grading-wise, 93.3 offensive grade, 79.8 receiving grade, 543 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns this past year alone. 38 pass blocking grade, 94.6 rushing grade, 1,712 rushing yards, 21 rushing touchdowns this year. 4,387 career rushing yards and 43 career rushing touchdowns with 4.09 yards after contact. Cam Skattebo, people, everybody learned this guy's name during the playoffs, but I wanted to show that game specifically. It's one of my favorite games to watch running back film on. And it's funny because like, I know there's like a Rocky statue out there in Philly. Like I think Arizona needs a Cam Skattebo similar statue because I felt like I was watching a Rocky movie where it's like the team just puts this guy like, hey, put us on your back. And he's just taking punch after punch. And he gets up and he's like kind of like half dumb at this point, can't really speak anymore. But he's like, I'll do it again. Put me in the game. Like he's just taking beating after beating, still pushing forward. I love to see it. But here, just an example that, yeah, like maybe he is the guy that doesn't like me, doesn't get his hips beat because like he can beat you to the outside too, right? Like it's a little mucky in there. Pretty sure Jahdae Barron is being talked about as a top 20 pick in the NFL draft. And Cam Skattebo just got outside of him and got the first down, 10-yard gain by getting outside of a corner, right? That's athletic, right? If you were concerned about this guy's athleticism, just watch that play and watch him do that to a slot corner. Phenomenal. Okay, here we go again. This is what I'm talking about. It's like, I'm getting the extra 2 yards. I have to, like you said, when you were watching Judkins, right? Spinning off of tacklers, right? Just to get that little couple extra yards here, right? I'm just kind of rolling through it, getting my butt down, getting low and getting 2 extra yards. I'll take that every time from my running back. But let's keep it going here. I don't think I abided by 5 plays on this one, but like, this is what I'm talking about. It's like, he's Rocky, dude. He's almost dead 3 times on this play. But he's going to keep going. He's like falling down, stumbling, bleeding from the mouth. Doesn't matter. Nobody's stopping Cam Skattebo on this play. He's going to keep going, and he's going to fight for extra yardage. Would I have loved to seen him get into the end zone on this play? Absolutely. But the effort is just insane. Look at where he's getting hit right here, right? He just received the handoff in the backfield. He's getting blown up, keeping his balance there, right? Putting a hand on the ground to keep that balance, and then fighting 2, 3, 4 tacklers to continue to get yards and get down to the 2-yard line. Love to see it. We're going to keep going. Cam Skattebo, a little bit of patience, right? That's a nice bit of patience there. But oh wait, you're not arm tackling me either, and I'm going to bounce off of you with a spin, just like Ashton Jeanty, right? Like, you're a first round pick projected. You're a first round pick projected. I'm going to spin off both of you, and I'm going to get so many extra yards that I absolutely shouldn't have got. Oh wait, is he lined up at wide receiver, like wide receiver, X receiver right now? Okay, let's see what happens. Oh wait, I'm going to put a little move on, get some separation, and then my quarterback's going to launch it, underthrow the ball. I'm going to use my body to create separation, get that extra space, keep going, flag on the pass interference, and then I'm fighting for extra yards. My helmet comes off. Now I can't even see, right? My eye's blurry. I got punched. I got a jab to the chin. I can't even speak anymore, but I'm still going, right?
Are you reviewing film or filming a movie? What are we doing? What are we doing here, Chris?
We'll see. We'll see what happens at the end. Cam Skattebo, here we go. Hit in the backfield. Oh, wait. My buddy's got my back, right? I've been fighting all games. They're saying, all right, I deserve to do a little something for you. What do? I keep my feet on this, right? 15. That guy's probably 310 pounds. He's got me dead to rights. I'm going to spin off of it. My offensive lineman says, I got you, Rocky. I got you, right? I'm going to carry you into the end zone. We did this together. We're a team. Great play by Cam Skattebo. He's a fun player to watch. I know it's going to be controversial when we discuss him, but he's a player that I really liked, and I was super excited to talk about with you. So I'm excited to do that. But everybody, we are done with the film session of this. We're going to welcome in audio-only listeners. Everybody, welcome into the All-22 NFL show. You got Chris and Ray. We just reviewed the top running backs in the 2025 NFL draft, which is only 2 weeks away, which is insane to say. And it's a great group of running backs, people. But first, give us a review, like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. We need you listening so that we can keep making these videos. Go to all-22.com because we need people to sign up and play this game. It is the best fantasy football game out there. It's the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, including offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and access to PFF grading and advanced stats to make decisions each week. To learn more and sign up, again, go to all-22.com or go to the App Store today. The other thing, Ray, there's a bunch of predictions that I'm just dying to make in this NFL draft. I think last week, or earlier this week maybe, I talked about Armand Membu getting picked 5th to go to the Jaguars. That is a pick that I've been dying to make. And if I could put money on it, I would. But right now, there's not a way for me to do that. But what if I could get paid for making that pick? And right now, I just learned about Pickpool, which is the hottest draft app out there. Pickpool is a place where you can go and predict your mock draft. Nobody cared about your mock draft till now. Go and put your mock draft for either the first 10 picks if you don't know ball, or the full 32 if you do, and try to get it right. And if you get it right, and if you beat your competition, there is cash prizes for you at the end, and it's $0 to join. You join for free. It's $0 to compete right now. Go to the App Store, iOS App Store, and download the Pickpool app today. The web version will be out soon. And yes, this is an ad for Pickpool. We are excited to have them as a sponsor. Ray, why don't we finally jump into our rankings of this running back tier? I just wanted to say really quick, I had other guys, right? We reviewed 6, 7 guys. I did 12. Maybe I can start it off by talking about some of those guys. You probably know more about them than I do, but I'm sure as hell that you did not rank them like I did.
Of course not. I don't do those rankings till like April 22nd. I'm not gonna do these.
All right,
but yeah, go for it.
Okay,
they haven't heard me talk enough, so by all means.
So I have a tier 4 that only has one of the guys that we talked about today. They definitely heard me talk way too much, but we're gonna do 12 to 7, even though I have another guy, 12 to 8, 13 to 8, whatever it is. DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. I know a lot of people are liking this guy right now. Something about him to me just didn't really translate to NFL talent. Smaller, shifty back. I think he'll have a team that kind of bets on that. I just didn't think he has enough power to be productive to earn that opportunity at the next level. We're seeing those shifty guys in the NFL right now with some heft to them, right? Like when you talk about a Devin Singletary or a guy like that in that mold, a lot of times their lower half is thick, right? They're super shifty. I didn't see enough of that in DJ Giddens' frame for me to really buy into it. Don't think he can really be a 3-down back at the next level. Not sure if you had a chance to watch him.
Yeah, I just wonder about the breakaway speed in the NFL too. He's shifty, but small stature, and I'm not sure that he has the breakaway athleticism to really last or to be, to last, to carve out enough of a role given his short stature or small stature rather to last. So I have some concerns, but he's a really good player. He could be a spell guy, but definitely not someone who really carries the load. He's part of a committee.
Exactly, dude. And Bashal Tutin from Virginia Tech is my next guy on the list. Super fun to watch, but again, a pretty small back. I thought he did have a little bit more of that low to the ground shiftiness, right? A little bit of a stronger base under him. So I had him a little bit higher. Probably have like a 4th or 5th round grade. That just shows how deep this running back group is. He's a guy I liked and actually said, a little bit more Devin Singletary to his game. Again, maybe not a guy that's a 4-down back, 3-down back at the next level, but a guy that I definitely think has a role on a team.
Keep going. I want to see who you had above him if you have him as your next guy already.
I have Jaden Blue as my next guy out of Texas.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Is this because you're saying, oh my gosh, because you don't like him or because you like him a lot more?
Just go. Okay.
First. Jaden Blue, smaller back, didn't get a big workload last year at Texas. And honestly, I think disappointed a lot of people. And I get it. I watched this film and I totally get it. But there are certain athletes that when you watch the film, you can tell that they have the frame, they have the body type, they have the athleticism to be successful, even if they haven't shown that success yet, right? And I think when I'm talking about Tutin and I'm talking about Giddens, I'm not sure they have the frame, right? I'm not sure they have that build to be those guys at the next level. Where Jaden Blue, the frame is definitely there. He has the build to be that guy. Maybe he's a little bit small, but I like the way his body moves. I like his size. So I'm betting on pure traits here and saying the traits are good enough to be successful while maybe the other guy's traits are not.
Yeah, the traits are good enough to be successful, which is why you have him ranked too low. Says the guy who hasn't ranked anybody. But yeah, no, you have him too low.
I have him too low. Let me tell you about the guys I have above him. Maybe you'll like them too.
Yep.
But I have Brashad Smith next out of SMU. Just getting to my notes on Brashad Smith. So really nice build. I do like this guy's build a lot to offer more than just a receiving back, which is kind of what he was for SMU when you watch the film. And I think it's just more of, if you watched SMU, we got to actually see a game live, which is so cool to see. But the quarterback at SMU is built for that style of game. Doesn't necessarily mean the running back has to be that in a different situation. So I think the usage made sense for SMU, but I think he's more than that at the next level. I think he's slightly too easy to bring down, doesn't have enough yards after contact to his game, at least on film. But I liked his vision. I liked his elusiveness. I think there's a lot there to be unlocked, and a player that showed me enough that I'm like, okay, he has something a little bit special to his game. What'd you think about him?
I think he's missing some leg drive. And that's the key thing holding him back. But this is a former receiver. He's young to the position and shows a lot of flashes for someone who does not have a lot of experience in the backfield. So that's incredibly enticing. But I would have Jaden Blue above him because I do think Jaden Blue is built for the NFL more so than Smith is. Smith is really intriguing and could also, there are a lot of markers that could indicate success for him at the next level. But I think Blue's a bit of an easier projection in that regard than Smith is. So I'd have Blue above him.
What about Damian Martinez from Miami, who's next on my list? He is a totally different back than the other guys on this list so far, because this dude is just a punch you in the mouth kind of guy. Really good patience. Has some cutting ability, right? Can move with a little bit with the shiftiness, but that's definitely not his game. And I think the biggest knock on him is just like there's not a lot of speed there. He's just not really a speed threat. So you're not talking about him as a 3-down guy. I don't really see him being a major receiving threat at the next level. I mean, I think Cam Ward definitely unlocked something in some of the players around him that elevated them. I think that's probably true for Damian Martinez as well. But a guy to me that, you need some goal line carries, you need some, tush push gets banned and you need a guy to get you 1 or 2 yards. Damian Martinez can definitely be that guy.
I think he may be able to carry the load, but I don't think he would be anything special if he could carry the load. I see him today as a Skattebo light in a sense. He's not as ferocious. He doesn't have quite the nuance as a receiver out of the backfield that Skattebo has and some of those abilities, but he's also a couple years younger and has a nice, 6 foot, 217 pounds, I think, is Damian Martinez from the combine. So he has some of the markers and tools, but is he dynamic enough? Does he have enough nuance to his game? I don't think he really showed that consistently at all in college. So to me, he's not someone who could justify being a bell cow at this stage, but it wouldn't be the most shocking thing if he were to develop as one in the NFL. Probably someone who, if someone in front of him has an injury or something, he has to step into a starting role, he will hold his own. And then from there, if he's in a good situation, maybe something happens at that regard. But I don't think immediately coming into the league, he projects as a high-end starter by any means. But he's a contributor and can chew up carries as needed for a team.
Would you have Jaden Blue over him?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
What about the next guy I have, which is Devin Neal? I'm really interested because a lot of people are super high on this guy, and I think he's good. But I think I'm still in that range of probably not 3 down backs, right? I think there are so many good backs in this draft that could be that. So what kind of separated some of these guys for me is just like, do I see them actually carrying a load for a team, which is not really frequently happening anyway in the NFL right now. But Devin Neal, good hands, nice receiving weapon out of the backfield or out wide. He has that flexibility. Makes the first guy miss almost every single time, but he's small. Definitely not a run you over kind of guy. And there's going to be limitations to just the amount of the amount of snaps a team would be willing to give this guy. That's my take, but a lot of people are high on Devin Neal.
Devin Neal reminds me of Tashard Choice from back in the day, where he's just productive. He's just productive. There's nothing special about him. He's just a good football player that isn't some dynamic, explosive, just jump off the screen at you guy. But you're going to look up and he's going to have 18 carries for 86 yards. And you're like, oh, how the hell did that happen? And he's just kind of just constantly churning and keeping you on schedule. I'm a big fan of Devin Neal, but I'm also a ceiling chaser, so I'd have Jaden Blue ahead of him. But I totally understand the love for Devin Neal and think he's right there in that same tier.
All right. Well, this is where I think my list kind of starts to get a little wacky, and definitely
it's a long time ago that left the station. Go ahead.
All right. Well, my number 8 running back in this class is a guy that we reviewed today, and that's Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. So Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee, for the audio-only listeners, 20 years old, so a younger guy, 5'8", 200 pounds, 3 years at Tennessee, but only 1,000 offensive snaps. Grading-wise, 90.5 offensive grade, had 1,488 rushing yards, 22 touchdowns. So a good back, right? This is a guy that showed a lot of promise, fun back to watch, really good patience, good lateral movements, nice speed to his game. I think he's, like you kind of pointed it out, and I had the note here, just a willing pass protector, although maybe not like a great one. And also like will fight, will put his neck on the line to get a couple extra yards and be a little bit more aggressive than a guy his size typically would be. But I think his size is going to limit him as an every down back. Another guy that I'm like, is he actually a 3 down back at the next level? And I also agreed with you. Against contact, when he gets kind of rocked up, the ball comes out way too easy. And at the next level, there was one play you showed where he takes on some contact and gets kind of like stood up and he didn't fumble. But I was just like, at the NFL level, that ball is getting absolutely rocked out of there. And there was just so many instances of that because I think that the strength just isn't necessarily there for him. So it was a concern of mine. And I have one guy that we didn't film above him who's next. I'll get to that after you tell me, like, where do you have Dylan Sampson? Am I way too low on him?
So again, I only rank like the people we review in these episodes because I'm allergic to rankings. I had Dylan Sampson actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. I had 5th. And here's why, Chris. He's just a kid. He's 20 years old. Get in the weight room, get stronger. He's not old enough to drink yet. Maybe he is today. I don't know. There's just some natural growth that has to be done there, but the speed and the lateral agility he has it in levels that are hard to find, even among NFL running backs. So if you have a skill set that is in demand and there isn't a ton of supply, I'm probably going to rank you a bit higher than I otherwise would because the tape today, Skattebo's is better than his, just tape for tape if you just watch one after the other. But Skattebo, 23 years old, how well does it translate when you just bang heads with NFL players and they're grown men. I mean, it's different when it's a 27-year-old linebacker for the Texans and it is, a 20-year-old linebacker for the Longhorns. It's just different. And so how well does that translate to the next level? When projecting that, there's a bit of a projection with strength for Sampson. I still don't believe he's an every down back by any means. I think if he's in a committee, though, he could be a highly, highly effective player for a team if he keeps the fumbles under control, even with the warts that he has today. If he can hold on to the football, Charlie Friday Night Lights, but if he can hold on to the football, I think he can really add a dynamic element to someone's running game in the NFL. And if he's asked to do that, he's going to grade very well for you in all 22 and really be a nice value add for someone. Again, he's just a pup. He's 20.
It'll be really interesting because it's hard to how do you judge the career of a player against another? It's like for running backs, it's not yards, it's not touchdowns necessarily. It may not even be PFF grading, right? Maybe all 22 points. Maybe that's how we do it. But I would be very interested. And I would probably put some good money on betting on the overall kind of all 22 points of a Cam Skattebo against a Dylan Sampson. Because I was a lot lower on Dylan Sampson. Because to me, he's not a guy that I think is going to step in and he's like, okay, he's number one in somebody's locker room. Like he's one on the depth chart at running back right away. He's going to have to really work for that. And like you're saying, he's 20 years old. Maybe he could get there. But to me, it's just like, it wasn't that obvious.
No, it's not obvious, but you're wrong. I do think it matters who they get drafted by. I mean, number one, a nice wide zone in space scheme would be great for Sampson. But the thing about running back, and here's why I'm not going to say I hate reviewing running backs. It's that so much of it is just situational dependent. The greatest running back prospect since Adrian Peterson had to fight tooth and nail for just standard competency levels and production with the New York Giants before going to the Philadelphia Eagles and then immediately winning a Super Bowl. So if situation can so strongly impact a prospect as great as Saquon Barkley, obviously I like to do it, but when you start kind of splitting hairs with, Skattebo versus Sampson, situation just matters so much once they get to the pros with running backs, more so than probably any other position besides maybe quarterback. It's so tough to project without knowing the landing spot just yet and how exactly they're going to fit in to the schemes and plans of the coaches. But nevertheless, we're going to continue on. But yeah, I had Sampson as fifth in this exercise.
That's such a good point because I think if we do our rankings today and then we do them after the draft, they're going to be so different. And you might say to yourself at home, be like, oh, of course they're going to be different because if a team drafts DJ Giddens in the second round and Cam Skattebo doesn't go to the fourth round, you're going to put DJ Giddens above Cam Skattebo. Like, no, that's not true at all. Because if the guy drafted in the fourth round goes to a team that I like in a situation I think is productive for running backs, that guy automatically leapfrogs so many other dudes. And a great example of that, this is a funny story, but Ray's bachelor party was actually at the NFL draft. And we were there, and Najee Harris got drafted by the Steelers. And I was a huge Najee Harris fan. I still am. And I thought he was one of those players where I was like, man, this is going to be a really special running back at the next level. I think he's got everything it takes to be a really productive running back at the next level. And he goes to Pittsburgh, who had no offensive line for the first 3.5 years of his career. And, 1,000 yards every year on a really bad offensive system. I'm really excited to see what he's going to be as a Charger. We're talking about a situation like Najee Harris last year, a year younger. You might say hey, his upside was better last year. It's no, I would have this year Najee Harris ranked so much higher than last year, being that he's now on the Chargers. So situation is so important. I'm happy you pointed that out. Number 7 for me is RJ Harvey. And I know another guy that you did not rank, but RJ Harvey to me was the one guy that I was like, dang, I really wish we reviewed his film because I think people would have had a lot of fun watching this guy. Super, super shifty for the amount of thickness that this guy carries. Lateral movement is absolutely phenomenal. He's got good vision. I wouldn't say it's great vision, but good vision. And just for his size, the strength is legit. And you might be thinking, okay, shifty with big size, good strength. He's probably slow. No, he is not slow. This dude breaks runs and actually goes, right? So RJ Harvey, I don't have all the information on him because he's not a guy we've reviewed, but a guy for me that on draft day I'm watching because if that guy goes to a good team, he's going up my rankings, right? That's a guy that I'm he can actually be a guy that starts I think about what's his name on the Seahawks, the running back for the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker, like Isaiah Pacheco, who goes into those situations and like, oh, I didn't expect this guy to all of a sudden just be like a 3-down back, and they are. RJ Harvey for me this year is that guy.
There are only two issues with RJ Harvey, and it's major injury history, and he's 24 years old, which for 2025, these things don't affect you, right? Or 2026 for that matter, unless obviously he gets injured, which could happen to anybody. That's about it. This isn't someone you're probably going to sign to a second contract because he's already 24 years old at running back. So by the time his rookie deal's up, he's going to be 28, 29 years old. You're just not investing big money into someone like that, who's not a special talent. Everything else you said is dead on. He's a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal player. He could start in the NFL year one this upcoming season for a team and be perfectly fine. Problem is, what's the longevity there? And there's a bit of an injury history, so maybe you don't want to put too much on his plate because you want to see how his body will respond. But overall, just in a vacuum, this is a really darn good football player.
Super, super fun. Like super fun to watch. Go watch him. Just you're having a hard time sleeping tonight. Turn his film on. You ready to have a fist fight, Ray? You ready for it?
You've been throwing punches this whole episode. You've been trying to recreate like Rocky 5 or 6, whatever number they're on now with
Creed.
Skattebo.
We're on to Creed.
Yeah, it's Creed now, right? When they've already been. Has there been 3 already? There've been 3 Creeds or 2? I think there's been 3. So,
okay.
All right, what do you want to fight about first? Because I have Camp Skattebo at 7, if that's what you want to fight about, which apparently you do.
Let's fight about that. I would love to fight about that. All right, you have him at 7. Let me just give the information quick, and then you can tell everybody why you're wrong. But Cam Skattebo out of Arizona State, 23 years old, 5'9", 219 pounds, 2 years at Sacramento, 2 at Arizona State, 2,274 career offensive snaps, 39.5 vert and 10.3 broad at the combine, 93.3 offensive grade with 1,712 rushing yards and 21 touchdowns this year alone, 4.09 yard after contact. Why are you wrong about him?
Look, Chris, it's just how well does it translate? Like, you can't get into a fist fight every time you carry the football in the NFL. Like, it's going to wear you down. And you're fighting with grown men now, not Big 12 defenders, if that's the conference they were in now, with all the realignment going on in college football. It's just different. You can't do that. You can't get into a bar fight over and over and over again and have longevity as a running back. And you can't get into that many bar fights and win them consistently enough against grown men. So just how well does everything that he does translate to the NFL? I have questions about it. I could find big, strong dudes that just want to beat people. I could find that later on in the draft. I don't have to draft that on day 2 at the running back position and give them 20 carries a game. I don't see him dynamic enough to be a bell cow because the way he creates just puts so much tension and so much strain on the body overall. He could have, perhaps even a phenomenal season like that, but over time, he doesn't strike me as that enough of a specimen to get away with that style over and over again in today's NFL, especially with seasons are only getting longer. They might add another game. They may now go to 18 games coming up here pretty soon too. So that's just more punishment on the body overall. He's already 23 years old. So the longevity is a big thing for me, and just how well does his style translate overall?
So we're actually not going to fight too much about that because I have him at 5. So I don't think it's like
correct.
No, you're definitely not always correct because a lot of what you said, I'll disagree with, and I'll do that in a second. But like having him at 5 to me is for some of the reasons you said. Right, this is a guy that is a couple of years older than I would like my rookie running back to be. He's definitely had slightly too many carries, right, and that probably means he's not a second contract guy, right. But in reality, how many of these running backs are getting second contracts? Saquon Barkley did not get a second contract with his team, right? You could say it's the dumbest thing that's ever happened in the history of the NFL. Could be, but it's also a state of the running backs in the NFL today, which is there's 7 or 8 guys in this draft alone that we think could be starting running backs at the next level. And you don't necessarily want to pay one because guess what? If your offensive line kind of sucks, you have to figure that out first. So Cam Skattebo to me is a guy that I think for the first 4 years of his career, you're going to love every single thing that he brings to the table, and you're going to love the fight that he brings. You're going to love all that. But the biggest thing I disagree with you on is that just because he wasn't playing maybe the best competition, that it wasn't NFL competition. Because one of the notes I have is that a lot of his runs are probably more NFL style runs than any other prospect in this draft. Reason being, so many of them are stuffed either behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage. I don't know if you remember us talking about how we hated how much bad football we had to watch in this whole thing. And it's like, when your running back is consistently getting punched in the mouth at or before the line of scrimmage, that's just not great football, right? And at the NFL level, because of how bad some offensive lines are, that happens all the time. So Cam Skattebo to me is a guy that already faced that adversity. And if I'm a team like the Giants and I have Tyron Tracy, who's a great receiving back, it's a perfect complement to that, right? And somebody that I would love and can probably obtain in round 3, right? If you're telling me you have a top 5 pick in the 3rd round, I think that's just about where I have this guy, right? And even though just because he's a running back, right? If it was just based on talent alone, I'd say he's probably a top 30 player in the draft, right? But that's not the case, right? This is a running back. This is a running back, so that's not how these are judged, right? This is a guy that's going to be a 3rd round pick probably, maybe late day 2. But that's why I don't disagree with you too much, because at the end of the day, like pick 7 to 5 at running back, probably getting picked somewhere in the same range, right? And it's also scheme dependent. And Cam Skattebo, again, I would love to see him paired with one of those smaller, shiftier receiving backs, even though Skattebo can receive the ball, like he's decent at it. So we're not going to fight too much on that one. But what we are going to fight about is who I have at number 6 on my list, which is Kaleb Johnson. So at number 6 on my list is Kaleb Johnson out of Iowa, 21 years old, 6'1", 224 pounds, only 900 career offensive snaps, 4.57 40 at the combine, 162 10-yard, 86.5 offensive grade, 1,535 rushing yards, and 21 touchdowns, but 4.42 yards after contact. I love this guy's vision. I love that he breaks tackles at the second level. I love how powerful he is once his body is moving. I love how efficient he is at finding space. And I love how he can wrap a corner, right? He can get around the corner and find speed and space there. But the fact that when he doesn't have that momentum building, that he's able to get stopped by guys smaller than him and actually brought down is concerning to me. I don't think he's as much of a pile pusher as a guy that's 224 pounds should be. I don't think his long speed is as good as it should be if he's not going to be a total, punch you in the mouth kind of guy. I don't think he has that phone booth, make you miss in a phone booth kind of cutting ability. And I didn't really see next level receiving back ability. So is this a guy that is a poor man's 3-down back, which is still a productive and valuable player at the next level, and a player I really, really like? Like, I'll say that. I'm at number 6 here, and I like all of these guys. But to me, it's like, of the guys I have above him, I think that there's something else to their game that will separate them and make them a little bit more special. For him, I just think he's like a really good, grinded out, hey, I'm going to give this guy 15 to 20 carries a game, and I know what I'm going to get out of it. It just might not ever be like Pro Bowl level play or, elite level play, top 5 running back play. I just don't think he has that in him.
The problem is, Chris, that he was on Iowa. And Iowa does absolutely zero offense at all, ever. It just makes everything worse for absolutely everybody on that side of the ball, no matter who's the coordinator. Once you put on that uniform, it's just like your abilities just drop. And now he's going to be away from that, and we're going to see the true Kaleb Johnson. I think he's an upper middle class, whatever the hell you just described him as, not poor at all. I think he has, he can afford a picket fence, 2 kids, a dog, and a nice yard as a bell cow running back in the NFL. I think he is at that level. I think there's, I don't have the number in front of me, but I believe he was of all running backs in the country, he faced the most stacked boxes out of anybody, which again, that's Iowa. It's really hard to kind of just get into a rhythm when that's the case. You have to end up turning the corner in order to do that, as opposed to sort of running your path, making your read, cutting, and then letting natural ability just take over. He never was really afforded that on a consistent basis at Iowa. So everything had to be, I am going to turn the corner, break 2 arm tackles, and then race to the end zone as best I can, even though I'm really a 4-5 guy. I'm not necessarily a burner, a speedster. I think if he goes into just any offense in the NFL with a baseline level of competency, I think he makes them all way better. I'm a big fan of Kaleb Johnson. I had him, but big fan, I have him at 4.
Yeah, okay. So we're not that far off, right? It's 2
We're
spots.
fans of this class. It's a good class. I think we need to level set that. Yeah, this class is better than the last couple of years for sure.
Which I'm getting to now, which is like Kaleb Johnson to me is Jonathan Taylor, right? Like, and Jonathan Taylor is what a lot of people out there probably think is like a really great back. But to me, it's like when the Colts offensive line took a step back, we saw what Jonathan Taylor really was, right? And that is like Saquon Barkley survived on the Giants offense, but also like showed how special he was even when the offensive line was bad. Jonathan Taylor kind of fell to the level of his offensive line because I don't think he is that special, right? But when it's good, he's really, really good and a really talented player, and that upside is really there. I think Kaleb Johnson's just as good as Jonathan Taylor. So interesting take.
And that's not a knock on either of those guys.
Correct. So RJ Harvey at 7, Kaleb Johnson at 6, Cam Skattebo at 5. Did you do your 7?
So I had someone at 6. I guess we could start there.
Yeah.
I had Quinshon Judkins at 6.
Okay.
And
let's talk about it.
I think it's a similar archetype kind of to Kaleb Johnson. I just think Kaleb Johnson is better at it because Judkins isn't going to really make you miss in a phone booth. He's going to get you some tough yards. He's going to run hard. And maybe it's a matter of when you put him side by side with TreVeyon Henderson, who we'll talk about later, I think you see the difference. To me, Judkins is the type that if it's there, he's going to get it for you. And he's probably going to make the defender feel it a little bit. But if it's not, he's not going to create more than what's there. And I'll keep it to just the on-field stuff when it comes to that. I think he's good. I think he's good. 6th in this class is good. It's very good. It's right around bell cow territory in the NFL. He can handle 20 carries, 22, 23 carries a game and be fine and hold up and be productive. I just don't think he can be great. I don't think he can be special. I'm not sure how much he elevates what's around him when he is the bell cow. I think he's just someone that can hold the fort down, do some good things for you, but he doesn't change the complexion of your offense like some of the other top backs in this class do.
Okay. So I have him at 4. So obviously a little bit above you, but it's really in that same tier of guys. You can jumble them really however you want. But something about him and Kaleb Johnson that I think is important to note, and which is why I think we both have those guys still like pretty early, is they didn't take a ton of carries, right? So like they showed us a lot of really good stuff while also still having like pretty fresh legs, which is a really good thing when you're talking about rookie running backs and the longevity of them and how they'll stay healthy at the next level. So I like that. I like that a lot about both of those prospects. So it sounds like we kind of have them flipped, but again, I don't really see an issue with it either way. But Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State, 21 years old, 6 feet tall, 221 pounds, 2 years at Ole Miss before this last year at Ohio State. 1,700 career snaps, combine 4.48 40 time, 38.5 vert, 11 broad, grading wise 88.8 offensive grade, 161 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, and then 1,060 rushing yards and 14 touchdowns, 3.04 yards after contact. So I guess the reason I see him a little bit different than you is I think I saw what Kaleb Johnson is on film, and I agree with you. The loaded box definitely held him back. But again, I think there's going to be a lot of offensive lines that aren't good in the NFL, and you're going to get hit a lot behind the line of scrimmage, and you need to be able to work through that and get that little extra effort. And I didn't see enough of that from Kaleb Johnson, but with Quinshon Judkins, I feel like I did, right? While there might not be that one crazy special trait with Quinshon Judkins, which makes him like that next level prospect for me, his combine results were insane, right? So like we're talking about athletically for a 220-pound back, a very special athlete. But on top of that, the thing that like does stick out to me is that burst that he has, that next level burst when he does get a hole or he finds a little bit of space. It's like you're basically putting the tape on fast forward and he's just bursting through that space and getting an extra 10, 5, whatever it is, right? Whatever's available to him, but he's eating that up. He eats it up, and Kaleb Johnson does not do that, right? Which is a differentiator for me from those two guys. They're both also very young prospects. So like to me, they're in that same tier, but I'm going to take the risk on Judkins as the more athletic, special talent that I think, again, like maybe we saw good things from him, but I saw a little bit more special from Judkins than I did Kaleb Johnson.
It's a risk, we'll say that. But okay, what's
Okay.
next?
I think I'm caught up. So RJ Harvey, Kaleb Johnson, Cam Skattebo, Quinshon Judkins. Did you do 7 through 4? You there?
Yes, my 7 was Skattebo, 6 was Judkins, 5 was Sampson, and then Johnson's my 4. So I'm up to 3.
So I don't know if we have the same 3. I'm thinking maybe we don't. And I really struggled with 3 and 2. And it's funny because
oh boy,
I think my 3 might be the better all-22 player. Like in all-22, this could be potentially the best running back in the whole draft, right? But TreVeyon Henderson to me is number 3. And it's kind of because, all right, this is a 22-year-old guy that played all 4 years, right? Didn't come out early, so he has a little bit more wear and tear on his body. 5'10", 200 pounds, so he doesn't have this elite size to him, right? But he's a great athlete, 4.43 40 time, 38.5 vert, 10.8 broad. So we're talking about like great combine numbers, but again, a little bit smaller. 88.4 offensive grade, 1,000 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. So we're talking about a guy that split some carries, 4.43 after yards after contact, which is crazy. To me, best receiving back in this draft, I think hands down. Don't think it's close. Thought he is the most intelligent blocker, most willing blocker, best results as a blocker, has probably, I don't want to say the best vision, but it's close, like very, very close to the best vision of this group. His elusiveness is fantastic, amazing patience, right? Such underrated game when you're talking about speed for him. I think you can line him up anywhere. Like I'm talking like go have him be a wide out on one play, put him in the slot, put him as an H-back, put him as a true running back. He could do any of it. I think he's super smart. And I don't think he ever really has to come off the field other than you're talking about a guy that's only 200 pounds and wear and tear may be a thing for him at some point in his career. A little bit small, not as great with contact as other guys in this class, but again, he's 200 pounds. You can't really compare him against some of these guys that are 230. It's just not necessarily fair. But a guy, again, it's like because of how well-rounded his game is and the fact that maybe he's not an every down back, he might grade so well at the next level. So he's a guy I'm super bought in on that, like kind of regardless of situation, I think he's a guy that can be special, but in certain situations, I think he could be the best back in this class.
Yeah, so he's also my number 3, but the thing is he does everything so well. First of all, I was flabbergasted that he only weighed in at 202 at the combine. When you watch him just absolutely take it to some defenders, whether it's in pass protection or as a lead blocker for Will Howard on a lot of these designed runs and different reverses and things of that nature, flabbergasted he's only 202, which is also like kind of a slight red flag, which we'll get into. But coming out of Virginia in high school, he was the best high school running back I had seen since Saquon Barkley, which at that point was 5-6 years since Barkley was a prospect. He was that good. He was the best one. The explosion was just absolutely next level. Phenomenal back, better than Bijan. But coming out of high school again into the college ranks, he was the number 1 guy I had seen since Saquon. And that explosion, I mean, it translates, that explosiveness, everything. He had a lot of explosive runs, long runs for touchdowns, breakaway speed and all that, while also combining and fusing that with phenomenal pass protection, all those little things that are done right, finishing his runs. Now, does he have next level leg drive? No. As some of the other bigger guys or someone like Jeanty, no, he doesn't have that leg drive. But everything else he has, and the mentality and style where he's not afraid to lower his shoulder, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal at pretty much everything but a next level leg drive, which not everybody has, and that's okay if you're so good at everything else. The thing is, I think he had a Liz Frank injury at some point during his college career too, which always scares me when you start getting into foot injuries with running backs. And then it's just, can he handle a 22 carry workload? Because if I have him on my team, I want to give him 20 carries, but I also want him in the game on third down to pass protect, to make plays out of the backfield because he can do all that. But can he hold up? I don't know if he can because he had a bit of an injury history at Ohio State with ankles and foot injuries and such. And obviously they brought in Judkins. They were able to split carries, so that wasn't a concern this past year. So his play, his tape, his film, to me, warrants a top 32 draft selection. You add in the injury history and everything else. Okay, I get it. You want to say top 40, top 45. I'm cool with that. But am I going to draft someone in the top 40, top 45 picks of the NFL draft and only give them 13 carries a game? I don't know about that. And that's the one thing that holds me back is I'm not sure if he's going to just physically hold up. But when he's on the field, he brings it, and he's one of, if not the best player on the field most times he's actually out there. Phenomenal player.
So I'm going to ask you a difficult question, right? If he is on the board for Dallas at pick, what do you guys have, like 43 or something like that?
44. Yeah.
44. Is that the pick you want them to make?
If the Cowboys took Tet McMillan at 12 and TreVeyon Henderson is there at 44, I'm throwing a party. And like I have another party scheduled already for the next day on Saturday, but like I'll throw another party that Friday night if the Cowboys get TreVeyon Henderson at 44. He's very good.
Yeah, and I agree. I think he's phenomenal. Sounds like
I just said I was concerned if I draft someone in the top 45, and here I am saying, 44, I'm going to throw a party. But they have Javonte, who's kind of a bigger body, bigger back there, who could take some of the load. And we've seen what they do with running backs, and the offensive line on the interior is still very good, even if it's not what it was back in their heyday, so to speak. But yeah, I think he's a great fit for that, and I'll be perfectly fine. You get a Tet McMillan, and then you get the most explosive remaining back on the board there. Yeah, by all means.
It's what Dallas was missing, right? There was explosiveness missing from the Cowboys run game. And I think like you solved that instantly with Henderson. Sounds like we probably have the same top two. So Omarion Hampton for me is number 2. I think it's, not a hot take, but North Carolina, 22 years old, 6 feet tall, 221 pounds, 3 years at North Carolina, 1,559 snaps, 4.46 40 at the combine, 88.4 offensive grade, 1,660 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns, and 4.35 yards after contact this past season. I'll go first. Omarion Hampton, just the size, strength, and speed combo that he offers is first round worthy in my mind. Like I'm talking about like very, very special prospect. Speed is real in open space, which I think is what separates him so much from a Kaleb Johnson, even though their size is very similar. And also the way they play football is very similar. I think the speed element of Hampton's game is like a significant step forward. Not only that, this is a guy that when he like sees the hole, he hits the hole, right? He's so decisive in the way that he explodes through holes once they appear for him. And he has good vision that, pair that with the speed that he has and the strength that he has, it's like instantly 5 to 10 yards, right? And that's any team in the NFL is going to sign up for that, like in my opinion. Strong at the point of attack, always runs people over when there's the ability to do that. I don't think he misses opportunities, so he makes the most out of the carries that he was given. I do have the same kind of knock on him. I don't think he's like a complete make you miss in a phone booth type of guy, although I'd say he's slightly better than the Kaleb Johnson, Omarion Hamptons of the world. And I'd say kind of, again, similar thing to Kaleb.
Yeah, I got you.
Yes, sorry. Same kind of thing as Kaleb Johnson, where it's like when he's met in the backfield, sometimes he struggles to escape that because he doesn't have that buildup of momentum where, Jeanty, who we're going to talk about in a minute, and TreVeyon Henderson will escape that, right? Because they have a little bit more shiftiness to them. They don't just depend on like that size, speed, strength combo. They have a little bit more. But to me, it's funny because I was talking about Najee Harris before, but I had Najee Harris as a top 20 pick. I think he went 23, 24 or something like that to the Steelers. But Omarion Hampton reminds me so much of that kind of a player. The things I liked about Najee, a lot of the same characteristics I just said here, but better speed, right? Significantly better speed than Najee. But a lot of the same, really good quality. So a prospect I'm very high on. I like a lot. And I would have him as a top 25 pick in the draft today, especially with the class that we have today.
Yeah, I feel like the top 2 backs in this class, the evaluations are pretty cut and dry with their archetypes. So there's not much to add with Hampton. Just when you watch Hampton, it kind of feels like if you're on defense that the field is literally just sloped against you, as if you're going uphill and he's just going downhill on you. And that's really tough. He just wears on you. The back plate looks awesome. And yeah, he just wears on you, just kind of, you almost feel it just watching the tape. You almost feel what the defenders must feel, like them getting tired and just kind of, it wears on you. He leans on you over time. That is so tough over a 60-minute football game. But everything else you said, yeah, it's spot on. He's not super shifty, elusive guy, but he's everything else: big, strong, fast, can break tackles, can really wear on you, and can handle the load, and is just all around really damn good at football. So yeah, Hampton's a great pick. I agree. He's definitely a top 20 player in this class. Probably should be picked in the top 22-ish picks, give or take. I think he's for sure a first round pick in this in the upcoming draft. You're muted again. You always do that. I set you up just right to go into the next one, and then you just leave me hanging.
Sorry, buddy. What I was saying is, I think I'm going to do my best to make the Ashton Jeanty conversation interesting because he's everybody's number one, right? But I do think that there are some interesting things that we can take away from the conversation. So really quick, Boise State, 21 years old, only 5'8.5", 211 pounds, 3 years at Boise State, 1,652 offensive snaps, didn't do the combine, 94.9 offensive grade, 138 receiving yards and a touchdown, and almost 2,600 in rushing yards and 29 touchdowns this year. So really crazy numbers for Ashton Jeanty. The vision is insane, like as good as it gets vision, contact balance, some of the best we've ever seen, really good shiftiness, good change of speed at the next level, which I thought was cool, right? Like he's kind of one of those guys that can stop and start and really just like doesn't miss a beat. I thought he was underutilized in the pass game, and I think he has a lot more in there to unlock. I didn't really love the targets that he got. I think that if you gave him targets in space, that shiftiness could have been unlocked at a different level in space, and I will like to see that if he goes to the right team. He's a little bit small. Top end speed is limited. Those are the only two knocks I have against him. Tell me what you think, and then I have some good conversation.
He's a bit of a fumbler at times, which I think is or could be an issue. Is that because the entire defense was just freaking hounding him pretty much every snap? I guess maybe that's a part of it, but had a bit of a fumbling issue. But other than that, yeah, I mean, no real other concerns. I mean, the body type, I mean, people could talk about the mileage that may be there, the amount of carries he received, but this guy is just so good. Even the contact that he did endure with that volume of carries, he doesn't take direct shots because of his low center of gravity, because of how shifty he is, just how good he is. He didn't take a lot of hard hits that really kind of, body blows that wear on you. You didn't see that from him. And it's because of just how adept he is at running the football as just a pure runner overall. So some of those concerns I don't have as much of an issue with as maybe some others do, but fumbling might be something I would just add to the list there.
Okay. All right. Well, where the conversation gets interesting is, do we see him as a top 10 pick in this draft? And where do we see him in the all-22 era? Because when we're talking about the top running back in this running back group and as special of a player as he is, that's where the conversation needs to kind of begin, right? It's not really comparing him to the other guys here because he is the best of them, but how does he compare to the other guys we've gotten to review? And I have some takes, but let's start the conversation where do you have him in terms of kind of guys we've reviewed in the past few years?
I mean, you're the ranking guy. I hate rankings, but I think he's better than Bijan. Wherever that puts him, I think he's above Bijan in the last few years in that era. I guess he's also above Gibbs, but man, Gibbs' style just really speaks to me. But I think I would have Jeanty above both those guys. He's just a flat out dude. I think he's worthy of a top 10 pick as a running back in this class. He's just that damn good. So yeah, wherever that leaves him in the numbers, I'm probably missing guys. He's not Saquon as a prospect, but he's above Bijan for me.
Yeah, I agree. He's not Saquon as a prospect. I think the difference that separates Bijan and Gibbs from him is the receiving game. Didn't see enough of it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, just didn't see enough of it. And a 54.7 receiving grade tells me that maybe this is a guy that, because of how good he is as a pure rusher, we might be overinflating a little bit in terms of like the greatness factor, right? This is a phenomenal player. Still agrees the best one of the options we have today. I think I have Bijan over him, and Gibbs is like pretty close.
All I'm saying is if you have a runner like that, if you're Boise State and you have a runner like that, your passing game is going to be predicated off of play action off of him. So the defense is flowing to him. So I'm not giving him the ball through the air. I just can't do it. because that's counterproductive to the whole point of using him to open up the passing game. And I think they were so one-dimensional, so to speak, because of Jeanty, that they just had to go away from him in the passing game, and he didn't have a lot of those opportunities. Even when they set up screens for him, it just wasn't there. There was just too much attention being brought to him that it just didn't make sense. So I think they just never really had the ability to put stuff like that in the offense for him because it was so centric towards Ashton Jeanty in the first place that at that point it's a counterpunch, and you don't counterpunch with your lead guy. At some point he needs A, to catch his breath, and B, you got to go where the defense is and take what they're giving you. So I think that could be a part of it. I think he'll be fine in the receiving game. I get it. We have to see it, et cetera, et cetera. But the unknown, so to speak, because it's not on tape as much with Jeanty as it was with those other guys, doesn't outweigh to me how I think he's just a better runner of the football than both of them.
Okay.
Damn, I love Jahmyr Gibbs.
I know, dude. I love both of them, Bijan and Gibbs.
I love Bijan too, but man, I really love Gibbs.
But I think I have Jeanty behind at least Bijan. Gibbs, I'm still kind of debating in my head. But like, really good football player. But like, that's kind of the conversation I wanted to have is like, if I have Bijan over him, where do I start thinking about him being a good fit in the NFL draft? And where would I actually start to consider taking him because of this year's draft? And we're going to get into, I think, next episode, which I'm super excited about, like kind of our big boards and how we would actually take these guys. But when I go through the draft, right, it's like Tennessee's not taking quarterback. Browns definitely shouldn't take a quarterback. It'd be insane. Giants should definitely not take a quarterback. It'd be insane. 4 is the Patriots. There's rumors that they would consider it, but with zero offensive line and receivers, it just doesn't make sense. 5, we're getting to Jacksonville. They have a few running backs. It's not a huge need for them, and they have other needs. 6 is the Raiders, right? And I think that's where the conversation begins with them. But in my mind, and when I look at the Raiders' offense and also just like what they have and don't have, like, am I really taking Jeanty over some of the other things that I could add to this team? Am I taking him over Tet McMillan, right? If McMillan's there, am I taking him over some of the edge rushers like a Mike Green? Am I taking him over some of the corners like a Will Johnson? Or if you're a Jahdae Barron person, like, am I taking him over that for a team that still has a lot of needs? I don't think so.
Boy, I would hate to see him fall to the Saints. I'd really hate to see that at 9. But I think he's such a good pure football player. I think he makes a lot of sense for the Raiders. I would love to see him in Vegas. I'm about it. I think their offensive line is good enough. Yes, they need other weapons too, because your passing game, really your primary guy there is now a tight end. So now your offense is running through a tight end and a running back. Where are you creating space for those guys on the outside? That's really tough unless they're going to turn around and also then take a wide receiver very early on in the next pick. They have to go wide receiver heavy or offense heavy in general if they're going to take Jeanty there. But to me, he's worth it because he might be the 3rd best player in the draft. I think it's Carter, Hunter, Jeanty. I think those are the top 3 best players in the class, just regardless of position. You're going to let a top 3 player pass you by for, and I like Tet McMillan. I like him a lot. I wouldn't do that. I think he's that good. If he's the 3rd best player in the draft and he's not a kicker and you're picking at 6, then go ahead and take him. That's my thought process there. I'd hate to see him go to the Saints, but I would sure love to see him go to the Chicago Bears. Boy, would that be fun. But those are 2 landmines that I don't think you navigate. If you want Jeanty and you're picking at 10 like the Bears, I don't think you can sit on your hands and wait for him to get there. I think he gets taken by one of those 2 teams. And I really do think it's zeroing in on the Raiders. I do think that's going to be the ultimate pick there.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that's the pick for the Raiders, although it's not the pick I would make, right? But the Raiders just have this history recently of just taking best player available. They had Michael Mayer, right? And they didn't really care. And they doubled down and took Brock Bowers.
I wouldn't have made the Mayer pick. I would have made the Bowers pick, but yeah.
Right, but I'm saying in 2 years in a row, it didn't matter that they already had just added depth at that position. They said, it's best player, we're going to take him. So if that is how their mindset is, it makes sense to me to think that they would take Jeanty, and you can go make that bet at Pickpool, right? Download the app today. But yeah, so Jeanty to the Raiders makes a lot of sense from that standpoint. But if I'm talking about which team I think should actually do this, it's really only the Bears. The Saints to me would be an absolute it would be tragic if he went there, because we talk about what just happened to Saquon, 4 years with the Giants and like just not 5 years, and just such a bad situation the entire time. The Saints are a team that we've been dying to flip kind of the salary cap issues that they have. And when you take a running back in the top 10, you're basically paying them as like a top running back in the league. And that's not what this team should be doing with their money, right? They need to build the offensive line back up. They need to get some receiving weapons now with Chris Olave's head injuries. The defense is falling apart, right? It's gotten so old. There's a lot of other moves that team needs to make before they go add a running back. So the Bears, to me, is like ideal situation. I agree with you. They probably have to trade up. I wonder if Carolina would be interested in trading down, since they lost a lot of picks with the Bryce Young trade. So like, could that be the move? It's like, just move 2 spots, jump the Saints, get Jeanty. You don't have to give a ton to do it, right? It's not like you have to give a 2nd round pick. Probably have to give maybe a 3rd to go those 2 spots. And I think you can do that. But I think like when you're talking about that offense, right? You have Roma Dunze, DJ Moore on the outside. You have people to open that offense up at receiver. Cole Kmet's fine at tight end, decent blocker, right? What you want. Imagine Caleb Williams if he also had Jeanty, right? It's just like maximize the talent of that team. It's not, in my opinion, it's not adding another receiver. You can say like, all right, add Matthew Golden, and now you have this like crazy speed threat to take the top off. And it's like, there's limitations to what that's actually going to do to this team. If the Bears aren't going to make a move to trade all the way up to get Abdul Carter, which I think is like 1A for them, trade up 2 spots and get Ashton Jeanty and just be super happy that you're giving your quarterback everything that he needs to be successful. To me, that's like great process for them.
Yeah, but they have to hold their breath at 6, because I don't think you can then. Well, you can't trade up to 5 for a running back. That's just too much. Now you're giving up a 2 and a 4, perhaps. I'm the value chart in front of me or anything like that. But now you're really giving up multiple premium picks for a running back when your team is still young and you have time with a young quarterback. So to that end, I think if we
just for context, there, right? Like, yeah, 10 could be Ted McMillan. Your 2nd round pick could be Caleb Johnson. Your 4th round pick could be, name another player, right? Or Harold Fannin Jr. It's like, are you really trading away Caleb Johnson and Ted McMillan to get Ashton Jeanty? No, right? Like, you just shouldn't do that. It's bad process. But if you only have to move a couple spots, I like it. Go ahead, continue.
They have Ted McMillan at home. His name is Roma Dunze. But yeah, insert player. It could be an offensive lineman, or it could be Michael Williams. Who maybe go ahead and trade up. If it's going to be Michael Williams, just go ahead and trade the pick. I think you just have to hold your breath. If he gets past the Raiders at 6, then you make the move. Otherwise, it's just too pricey. But Jeanty will be good wherever he goes. If he goes to the Saints, if worst case scenario, we're sitting here, hands on our head, oh no, we really did not want Jeanty to go. Jeanty's still going to be very good. He's just going to be beat up. He's going to be the guy in that Rocky movie you tried to recreate during the film portion of this episode here, because he is going to be battered and bruised in that situation.
All right. Well, I think an hour and 42 minutes in, we've done our job. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't yet, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X at all22_PFF, and give us a review wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts. Have a great day.
Go.